Greg Olson was one of my favorite people of all time. We had an altercation on the mound. I missaw something. I didn't see a sign that he put down, and I thought he was being stubborn, and I waved him out, which was wrong on my part. And he kind of chewed me out, and the pitching coach had to come down and, you guys are best friends. Are you okay? I said, yeah, it's on me. And Greg did what I told him he should do. I said in the beginning, don't ever let a pitcher show you up. And I did it.
All right, and I am pumped to be joined, as always, by the Hall of Famer, John Smoltz. John, how are we doing this week?
Doing good. I felt like today I should probably have a jacket on, to do this podcast and spice it up a little bit.
This is getting more serious, it's getting more and more people watching, so you needed to dress it up a little bit like me today, John, I wanted to start with a Dodgers situation with Shohei, Dalton rushing his catcher now. I don't know if you saw, but in his start on Wednesday night, Will Smith is Shohei's typical catcher, but because of injuries, Dalton rushing has been catching him. And it kind of, as much as you will ever see from Shohei Ohtani, kind of boiled over a little bit in frustration with rushing behind the plate and not challenging. And Shohei pretty demonstratively tapped his head and called for a challenge and was right. And rushing had to be consoled in the dugout at points. It's just gotten to a point where it's seemingly boiled over, and you could see Shohei talking to him pretty sternly. Freddie Freeman, Dave Roberts, all having conversations with Dalton rushing in the dugout. My question to you is, can you walk us through the situation a little bit did you ever have your typical catcher and then maybe had to have, maybe not a rookie, but a younger catcher step in and catch you and kind of guide him to help you along the way? Like, this seems like a situation out in LA.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you got to get used to. And in this day and age, it's more complicated with all the information these guys are trying to process.
Yeah.
Whereas Greg Olson was one of my favorite people of all time. We had an altercation on the mound. I missaw something. I didn't see a sign that he put down, and I thought he was being stubborn, and I waved him out, which was wrong on my part. And he kind of chewed me out, and the pitching coach had to come down and, you guys are best friends. Are you okay? I said, yeah, it's on me. And Greg did what I told him he should do. I said in the beginning, don't ever let a pitcher show you up. And I did it. So he lived up to what I told him, and he told me on the mound. So I was wrong. But then there's situations where you don't flow. Like I got a chance to work with Brian McCann, and he was a rookie, but it was a different approach. I walked him through everything. I was a veteran pitcher. I walked him through everything. I helped him get navigated with the big league structure. Today, there's so much information, and guys are in different stratospheres. Shohei's in an atmosphere by himself. Can you imagine a young catcher just being back there going, oh my gosh, this is a franchise? So I'm sure it's taken a minute, and they'll work it out and they'll figure it out. But it's a thing. There's nothing wrong with saying it's not a thing. It's just they just have to work it out.
John, is there any part of you to this day with that story with Greg Olson believes that he didn't put you did see correctly, or do you truly believe him when you say you just missed what he put down?
I watched the video. He was right. Yeah, I was a little bit going through a blind spot anyways, and we knew each other so well. That's why I was caught off guard. I'm like, he's not putting down slider.
Yeah.
And I'm going, and I thought I shook off. And when you shake off 4 times, you realize, well, I just didn't see it. So I thought he was being stubborn by putting that first finger down a couple times, and I'm like, wait a minute, it was my fault, my bad. And it was a moment that I'm sure caught all of us, all the teammates up. They're like, oh my gosh, they're getting after it. And it was just for that moment.
It's really the NL East as a whole. 2 weeks ago, the division lead was about 10 games, 9 games exactly 2 weeks ago. And here we are at the halfway mark of the season, and the lead is now 4.5 games in the NL East. Sitting here today, as we are, if you had to pick who you think wins the National League East, is it the Braves or is it the Phillies?
Well, like I felt about 2 weeks ago, I thought the Braves were in a little bit of trouble because of the health issue. And look, if everything being said, you'd rather have a 4.5 game lead than not, but you'd rather be healthy.
Yeah.
And I think a healthy team for the Atlanta Braves, even down 4.5 games, is a better version than the team that right now is trying to hang on to a lead on the West Coast with their lineup not being collectively together and their pitching staff. To me, it's their pitching staff.
Yeah.
And if you get those guys in, when you don't have two of your top dogs, and even if Spencer Strider never becomes the old version, but is at least healthy, you've got arms, that's where they're missing. And the Philadelphia Phillies are making up for everything that they weren't with their offensive power that has just been unbelievable. And that's where they're best suited. That's what's going to make them relevant. Their pitching is good, but their hitting and their offense is much better. Their bullpen's very good. And I think they're riding an emotional, and rightfully so, hot streak because they're hitting the ball out of the ballpark, scoring a lot of runs, rallying. Those are all things you have to do, whether you're expected to win or you're not expected.
It's a good recipe to win. Hit the ball out of the ballpark, score a lot of runs, and hold the other team to not as many runs. And the Phillies are going through a good stretch right now. And I do hope the NL East is a good example for everyone early in the year that likes to overreact. It seemed a month ago that the Braves were going to run away with the division. We're at the halfway mark, and the Braves lead is down to 4.5, and there are two teams that are going in the opposite directions, really.
Yeah, and everybody kind of knew. I mean, I don't know if everybody knew that Milwaukee Brewers were going to kind of maybe run away with it. They thought the Dodgers would, and that's not going to be a surprise. But you're starting to see some teams come back to the field negatively and positively. And I think that's a fair representation of what the All-Star break kind of is. That's why some managers don't pay attention as much until they get to the All-Star break. Because now you're looking to either add or subtract. You are what you are at some point at the All-Star break, fair or not. You kind of are a beat-up team that's going to get better, or you're a team that just has the capacity of playing 500 ball. And I think you're starting to see that shake out a little bit.
Who's a team that you're watching right now? Again, we're around the halfway mark, about a month away from the trade deadline. Who's a team that you're like, I hope they do something at the trade deadline, whether it's a team that normally doesn't or a team that you just feel is in a great position to add somewhere?
Yeah, and that's going to be more intriguing this year than ever before because of the balance in the American League. You're looking for that team that falls off the cliff and they're like, shoot, with what's looming in the negotiations. There's all kinds of factors that would never be a factor. The labor negotiations is a factor. Yeah. And it's going to play into whether a team goes all in or doesn't, or really looks at their roster to see what next year is going to be. So, all eyes were going to be on the Tigers. I still don't think they're out of it. We talked about it before. They're playing better, but they're going to be a team that everybody's looking at. I'm interested to see what Cincinnati does with their young pitching and a team that hasn't really kind of lived up to expectations. They're below 500 now in the Central. But whether it's a surprise team like the Marlins have played pretty good, the Nationals have played pretty good, I don't know if we're going to get shocked. But the shock factor for me would be the Chicago White Sox. If they went in a direction to add and really take advantage of what the Cleveland Guardians, banged up injury-wise, Kansas City's not gotten to the place we thought they would be, and of course Detroit's where they're at and Minnesota's where they're at. I would be shocked if Chicago didn't take some chances and decide that this could be a great time for the South, for the South side to shock people in the American League.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome to see. And they've had a good year so far. You mentioned labor stuff, John, and how it will affect. How do you see things being affected? You say it will affect at the trade deadline. It will, make a difference. How do you see teams maybe going about things differently, or just what might we see different because of what's ahead?
I think salary, taking on salary that we don't know what's going to happen on the other end, what the threshold's going to be, where the labor takes those teams. You've seen this year the big market teams go, okay, here I go. I'm going to do something I may not be allowed to do anymore. So I think that the trade that's made could affect certain teams if it's a player you want to lock in or, sign long term. That's what I'm talking about. The ancillary, the trades that are going to happen where a guy's on a 1-year deal, I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. It's the guy, the big push, the Scooble, that kind of push. That is going to be where all eyes are going to be, because that's the most dramatic change that a club has to look at, and the risk they're taking if they think A, they can re-sign him, or B, they're just going to run out the string and then see what happens after that.
John, early in the year, you talked about Bryce Elder and, kind of gave an under-the-radar pitcher some love, and that went over really well. So I wanted to ask you today if there is anyone out there pitching-wise that you watch that's maybe a little more under the radar that you have just really enjoyed watching pitch.
Yeah, and that's always a good question, trying to see who emerges, from different teams. I don't think he's under the radar, but I sure enjoy watching Sanchez get to an elite level, right? I don't think you could say that he was always at this level. His career trajectory was not one that led you to this. So the fact that he has righted the ship with command and dominance, and he's gone through what you couldn't say that 2 years ago. Yeah. So that's why it's a little under the radar. I always loved watching Suarez pitch. For the same reasons. He was this cool, calm guy, didn't overpower anybody. I guess maybe it's easy to look at the dominant guys and go, wow, that's a great arm. Yeah. Harrison, how could Harrison do what he's doing with Milwaukee when he was two different teams? I think, that to me, I love seeing, because when a guy gets it, or when he flourishes and he learns to command and he learns the identity of him, I love seeing a guy birth through that, Sonny Gray, I'm not surprised by 9-1, 10-1. But Harrison, absolutely. Young man in Oakland, and probably getting it. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Gage Jump.
He's one of them. Yeah. But they got a couple guys that the young man in the White Sox that is 10-2. That
Davis Martin.
Unbelievable arm and just great action. I love watching that guy pitch because I see something different. It's not like cookie cutter. Throw it 98, throw it 99. I love when I tune in and I see a guy and I go, oh, that's different. That's not 99. That's not Dustin May way back. And now he's trying to reinvent himself and get back to everything he had to go through. I'm happy for him, but you think about the can't miss Dustin May and then the injuries and the bullpen. I warned everybody of those things that were going to happen to him. And yet now he's given a chance to kind of get back to. That's what brings me joy in the industry of pitching. Anybody can throw 100, and it look unbelievable. But how do you sustain your ability to pitch, and how do you navigate when you don't throw 100? And that's kind of what I enjoy watching around the league.
Yeah, that's great. Good stuff. John, I appreciate it as always. Looks like you're right outside of Truist Park, if I'm not mistaken.
That's exact. Good call. Yeah, I didn't know you could see that, but we had a little.
Well, thank you. I can see the Truist over your left shoulder, so it's kind of a dead giveaway.
Oh yeah, there you go.
John, I appreciate it as always, and we'll do it again next week.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, thanks, John. See ya. All right, thanks again to John Smoltz for joining, as he does every single week here on the show. This is Saturday with Smoltz, and I'm really appreciative of his time, and I hope you all are as well and enjoyed the conversation. Please hit that subscribe button on YouTube. It really does help, and leave a comment. I love hopping in the comments and continuing the conversation with you guys. If you're just listening, Apple, Spotify, wherever, hit that follow, subscribe button, and follow on all social media at Flippin' Bats Pod everywhere. We put out a bunch of fun videos there. Saturday with Smoltz, always a favorite of mine. Fun conversation about the pitcher-catcher dynamic. It can be interesting. And on Thursday, I broke down the entire Shohei Ohtani and Dalton rushing situation and showed all the video involved and explained why it's a big deal and why a pitcher and catcher need to be on the same page and all of that. So I had to ask John as well. And that is our Saturday conversation, my friends. I appreciate you all for watching and listening. And until next time, which will be Monday, full week recap and everything around the game of baseball. I love and appreciate you all. And remember, until next time, find your bat and flip it. Peace.